Hey all, and welcome to this week's episode of the Mike Muldoon podcast. Thanks for joining me. It's late. It's actually Thursday night. Normally I try to do my podcast a couple days in advance because I release at 2 a.m. East Coast time every Friday. Don't ask me why. I don't know why I picked it. Just one day I thought 2 a.m. would be really cool. So it'd be interesting to know who the first listener is of the day because I don't usually even send out the newsletter till later on in the day. So if you are the first listener, thank you so much. But yeah, I'm tired, been really busy, but I committed to this podcast and I got to keep going. My wife says, I think you're a little OCD because I haven't missed one. Traveling, vacations, anything. I always try to have an episode ready to go. So here I am, just a few hours before I will be publishing this episode. So again, just thank you so much for being with me. Totally appreciate it. And today I just again, I want to explore the fascinating connection basically between our thoughts, our emotions, but this time with our habits, right? So today I just want to delve, really deep into how our inner workings drive the behaviors that we exhibit in our everyday lives. Have you ever wondered why, you bite your nails or why people bite their nails when you're nervous or they're nervous or, you reach for that chocolate bar when you're feeling down? Well, what happens is it just turns out that our thoughts and emotions, they play a significant role in shaping these habits. It's just not something we do. If, our thoughts and what's going on at the time and of course our emotions, they're really the reason why we're doing this. That's why I always say if you want to make a change in your life, you just can't start with the action. You got to start with the thoughts and emotions. But, let's look at, well, this one used to be me. Let's look at smoking, which is ironic. I don't see many smokers nowadays. I don't even know if I have any smoking friends in my life, but I used to be one, which was crazy. I used to smoke a little bit in college, nothing crazy. I was a college football. I was an athlete, but off season, cigarette here, cigarette there. But by the time I got done playing college football, never during the season, but after my last season, I picked up smoking and it didn't end. And I was living in New York City with my friends and, living the artist life and smoking cigarettes and packs of cigarettes and sometimes not having money for food, but I had money for cigarettes. There was always the argument in my mind, I could get a sandwich, but that's one, or I get a cigarette and that was 20. Bad habit. Glad I shook it. But anyway, let's talk about that. Back in the day, I was always constantly reaching for a cigarette, whenever I was feeling stressed and anxious, even more so, right? I mean, even, despite knowing the health risks, I couldn't seem to break that habit. And it took me a while, and it's been over 20 years since I've had a cigarette or anything I've inhaled in that amount of time. But what it really comes down to is research suggests that the habit of smoking, it often just, stems from our desire, whether or not we realize, to regulate our emotions, right? Smoking provides us temporary relief from stress and anxiety. So each time, I would light up or, people light up, our brains release dopamine, which is that real good, feel good neurotransmitter. And it reinforces the behavior and is why we continue to keep smoking. It just makes it harder and harder to quit. But it's just not smoking. I mean, there's so many other habits that people just have daily. None of these habits have to be something excessive like drug use or alcohol, but obviously drug use and alcohol, a lot of it are tied to, emotional behaviors. But just nowadays, a common one you see is people just mindlessly scrolling through social media, for hours on end. I mean, you've seen that, right? You look around, you see people just in their nose or in their phone away. But that's being driven by a different set of emotions. And a lot of that comes down to boredom and loneliness. I mean, studies show that excessive social media use provides a distraction from, negative feelings, albeit it only provides that distraction temporarily, but that's why people do it. It's often been said, and something I believe, that the greatest challenge with humanity, and even more so today, is one's own inabilities to be alone with their thoughts. Some of you might have, even an innocuous habit more like teeth grinding or lip picking. I mean, these habits often fly under the radar, but can have significant implications, for our well-being. If you're somebody, and I used to do this, is, you grind your teeth at night, you might just attribute to something, stress related. But if you really examine it, you might realize that it's linked to something more like having a perfectionist tendency, right? This constant need for control and perfection, which is manifesting itself in your sleep as your teeth grinding, or it could be other stuff. It could be other things, but it's a physical manifestation of an inner turmoil that you might be dealing with. Similarly with lip picking, it could be a coping mechanism for dealing with anxiety or, insecurity. Whenever you feel nervous or self-conscious, you might, unconsciously just pick at your lips or, picking at your face, providing this, brief distraction from negative thoughts. So what are you trying to tell me, Mike? I'm just trying to tell you, like I try to tell you through everything, through every episode, every week, it's all connected. So what can you really take away from this? What can you take away from today's podcast? First and foremost, our habits are not arbitrary. They serve a purpose, however misguided it may be. So if you really understand the underlying thoughts and the emotions driving these habits, it's the first step towards breaking free from their grip. So if you want to stop teeth grinding, you don't just, I'm going to stop teeth grinding. You got to understand why you're grinding your teeth. You want to stop picking your face or picking your lips. You got to understand why you're doing that. You want to quit smoking. Well, again, there's a physiological reason there. That's probably helping you continue to do it. But obviously the risks for your health are probably a really good factor. But again, it's probably figuring out new coping mechanisms to deal with the stress or anxiety you might be having in life. But look, breaking habits, it's not easy. Like everything else in your life, it's going to require self-awareness and patience. And sometimes it might require professional help. For me, when I quit smoking, I went on the patch. I went on a patch about 5 times before it finally took for me. But for me, it was really interesting. When I had quit smoking, I had started playing a lot of volleyball, and I loved playing volleyball. But of course, when I was smoking and playing, and I couldn't get around and I'm talking about sand. I'm talking about beach volleyball in Santa Monica. I couldn't get around the court very good. So every day that I went out smoking, every week, every month, every day it passed, the more I felt better. The easier it was to continue not smoking. And then I got to 6 months, a year, 5 years, 10 years, and now 20 something years. I don't really have that desire, but that's kind of what worked for me. I just exchanged one way of, dealing with my anxiety, right? Or, my stress by, channeling it into sport, which kind of helped me. But look, whether it's, you need to go through therapy or start some sort of mindful practice or even, a cognitive behavioral techniques, anything like that, there's a lot of tools available to you, to all of us, help rewire our brains and just cultivate healthier habits. As always, just remember, you have the power to change your habits. You have the power to change your life, right? So the next time you find yourself, reaching for that cigarette or mindlessly scrolling through social media, pause, ask yourself, what am I really feeling? What am I trying to avoid? By addressing the root cause of your habits, you can take control of your thoughts, your emotions, and ultimately your destiny. So again, everything comes back to thoughts and feelings that always lead us to our actions and our results in life. And if you've been listening to me for the last almost 2 years now, you'll understand that's probably at the core of everything that I talk about. If we can manage our thoughts, we can manage our lives. And it's not easy sometimes. And I can tell you, I'm fantastic at it. Sometimes I can get down the rabbit hole. I just have better awareness to realize I'm going down the rabbit hole. Let's stop now. Let's stop now. So anyway, as always, I appreciate you being here with me today. I appreciate my listeners. Thank you so much. Again, maybe share it with your friends. I've been here a while. Might be some people out there that can use it. It's short, quick, to the point, right? I don't keep you very long. And as always, I got nothing but love for you.